All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say. Because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line. Today's guest, Mr. Michael Seward. Michael Seward here is not your typical real estate agent. I want to tell you that right now. I was scrolling through my feed, saw his a post that he posted that is super real, and that's what this is about, right? Saying what you mean and meaning what you say, right? Authenticity in its purity. This is what I look for. This is what I think is driving relationships right now, especially during this pandemic. Authenticity to its purity, right? None of that fluff, none of that dress up stuff where, social media porn, entrepreneur porn that's out there. It's catchy, it's pretty, we all love it, but it took a lot of work to get there. And this is why I reached out to Michael and I said, hey man, I think I would love to share your story with my audience. And I think people will definitely appreciate hearing the real side of the hustle, right? So Michael Seward here is a real estate salesperson over at Unlimited Homes Realty out in Valley Stream, New York. He also hustles throughout New York, not just Nassau, but also in Brooklyn. With a lot of like real deals that I like to get my hands dirty with also, right? So Michael, thanks for taking the time for being a guest today. How's it going, man? How have you been?
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Everything is good. I can't complain. I'm above 6 feet, so I have another day to make things happen.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. I like that perspective. So what's crazy to me, man, is I was just saying how you make everything look so easy. You make everything look easy on social media. You make everything look easy on, on IG. Especially, it's hard to make things look hard on IG, right? Because just the way things are. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about your. You posted something that was super real, man. It was like your experience to get to where you are today.
Yes.
What motivated you to put that up?
Well, I'm actually glad that you asked. The reason behind it is because through Instagram or Facebook, I consistently post videos of certain successes that I have,
right?
Or certain videos of just raw footage of real estate, or these beautiful homes or a nice suit. But there's a lot more that goes into it than just that. So I've been getting direct messages, comments about, wow, you're really doing it. Wow, you've made it. That was the biggest one. And then something clicked in my head and I said, it's not completely true.
Right.
It's humbling. I appreciate it deeply,
right.
And I really, really do.
Right.
But that's not always the case. So I thought I would write, okay, you know what? Here's a little backstory about what I've been through that led up to this point.
Right.
Because a lot of times people speak to you, whether you're a success, a mogul, a guru, whatever the case may be, and look up to you like you're this being of perfection.
Right.
That's not, So I wanted to show people long story short, the real.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, listen, I'm just like everybody else. If anything, I'm still climbing this ladder of success like everybody else.
Yeah. So what stood out to me, right? This is real for me, right? And I said, man, listen, this is a guy after my own heart, bro. Like, I got to reach out to this dude because he's sharing it and he's keeping it there's keeping it real and there's keeping it funky, right? And I think right here, you keep it funky. Like right here, it says, for a while, I didn't see a way out. It seemed all was lost, but I had to keep going. I had to keep fighting. I didn't have a choice. I wasn't willing to give up. It says, it isn't in my nature. That's me all the way, right? So this resonated with me. I related to this. It says, I wasn't willing to give up. It isn't in my nature. A little after that, I end up having to get rid of the car I worked so hard to obtain. It took a hit on my ego, of course, but that was a lesson learned that I will never forget even today. So now, with no car, debt on the rise, limited income, and collapsing mental health, I had a decision to make. I can keep doing what I'm doing, which will certainly ruin me, or I can take a leap of faith and take back control. This right here is what we call the shift. Okay? In my world, in the coaching world, this is the shift where you get met with, the fork in the road, and you got to decide if you're going to continue or if you're going to quit, right? They talk about the flight of rebirth with the eagle. The eagle's lifespan is about 40 years. At this point, when the eagle hits 40 years, its talons start to fall off and it can't hunt as much and it gets weak. Its feathers starts to get stuck to its body, right? I listen to a lot of TD Jakes, right? So, and I learned about this, right? And this is the fork in the road. And the eagle has to decide whether or not it wants to continue to live or if it's going to give in to its current circumstance, right? And so what it does is it retreats to a high mountain point where if it decides that it wants to live, that's the whole thing. It goes and it retreats and it plucks its feathers out, it plucks its talons out, and it bangs its beak against the mountain, against the wall until it falls off, and then it starts to regenerate, right? It starts to grow the beak back, it starts to grow the talons back, the feathers start to grow back, and then it goes on what they call the flight of rebirth, where it comes out of the mountain, and then it goes back into hunting, and it lives for another 30 years, right? So the true lifespan of the eagle is about 70 years, okay? When I read this, that's what I thought of. You know what I mean? That's exactly what I thought. I said, this guy's got to make a decision. And so you went ahead and you made that decision. And you're so vulnerable here where you say, and this is something else, because I don't think you and I come from that time, that generation where it was okay to be vulnerable to this extent, right? Publicly.
No, absolutely not.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
And so you say here, scared, lonely, depressed, anxious, so many emotions all at once became overwhelming, and I snapped. A full mental breakdown. So let's go into that a little bit, right? This is really why I wanted to get you on, okay? Because it's something that we deal with on a daily basis for a lot of people, right? Let's first talk about the shift, okay? When you realize you worked so hard for this car, the car is gone, and now you had a decision to make. Your mental health, what was going through your head, right?
So so what ended up happening, I had a sports car that I've wanted for about 3 years, and I worked full time on the side, anything that I could do to save up money to get this car. I finally get the car. So as usual, you feel you're on top of the world. You're young, mid to late 20s.
Right.
You got the newer sports car from the lot. You feel great, and then all of a sudden, in a matter of a year and a half, it's 2 years. Excuse me. It's taken all from you. Now, when you have everything, you're the man.
Right.
Everyone flocks to you. That attention it's addicting.
Right.
And then you realize it isn't real. It's a fantasy that you're living in. Because once it's all gone, so does the attention. So does that orgasmic feeling of being gravitated to. And that's a realization that you have to come in terms with. Many don't come to that realization, and instead of focusing on how can we reobtain this because it's just a liability, it doesn't mean anything. So you could always get it back. But instead of worrying about that, the first thought is I have to find a way to get this back. So that wasn't the case for me.
Yeah.
So one of the decisions I had was, okay, my ego is hurt. That gravitational aura isn't there anymore. So what are you going to do? You have two things. You can allow yourself to fall into debt to try to regain back these liabilities, or you can brush it off your shoulder as hard as it is, keep pushing through it, find a way to better yourself so you can have that or better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what it really boils down to.
Yeah. Okay. So, for a lot of people that the car might be a representation of some kind of a trophy, right? Like a success trophy. You know what I mean?
It's a great way of putting it, actually.
Yeah, because
Excellent way.
so like what I like to do is I like to see, okay, what did that car mean to you, right? One, so you got the car, you finally got, like I went through this, right? I mean, I hustled cars for a while, I flipped cars for a while, right? So like each car meant something to me, but I had to like let go of the car because I needed to make the money, right? So like a friend of mine put me on, right? Like so he said, he used to go to the auctions and buy the cars. And I was like, where are you getting all these cars, right? And he's like, well, to come with me to the auction. So we go to the auction, and then, I saw this 96 Galant, and it pulled to the left a little bit, right? So that's how I learned how to drive with one hand, actually, right? Because I had to keep pulling it back to
That'll do it.
yeah, I had to keep pulling it back to the right. And if you know Brooklyn, I'm on Atlantic Avenue, and there's a shoulder between like, what's that, Atlantic, and I think somewhere around, I forget what street it is. But it's like you're coming into Queens, right? And it goes from 3 lanes to 2 lanes, and you got to merge onto the 2 lanes to go over this bridge, right? And I crashed the car. I completely totaled the car. Me getting that car meant that I was on my hustle. Me getting that car meant that now I didn't have to rely on anybody to get a ride from anymore, right? Me getting that car meant that I was in control of, where I could go whenever I wanted to go. It meant so much for me. But had I not crashed that car, I wouldn't have learned, how to detach, how to let go of that material item. You know what I mean? So even though I was attached to it, losing it meant something for me. So like, what did losing that car mean to you? Like when you lost it, what did you learn from it? What did you gain from it?
When I lost that car, the best thing I gained was a sense of my surroundings. Because as you said, you can go anywhere you want, anytime you want, on a snap of a finger. When you don't have that option, you have to dial back and realize, okay, I still have to get to where I have to go, but is where I'm going to be meaningful when I arrive, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
So that's really what it did for me. It just opened my eyes as far as what's more important in my life. Because if you're just trying to go somewhere just to show off, it doesn't mean anything and it doesn't bring any value to your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So without that distraction, if you will, it really opened up my awareness to what I wanted to do and how I'm going to utilize the time, because you all of a sudden have this time.
Right. Yeah.
So how am I going to utilize my time for good?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let me ask you this, right? So were you in real estate when you had this car? Like, was it helping you get into your build your real estate career?
Here's the thing. It didn't necessarily, because I was doing real estate part-time when I had it. So yes, it was great going, I got to get everywhere I needed to get to, but I was growing in real estate in my infancy. So I didn't have as many appointments. I didn't really have meetings to get to, things like that. So it didn't really play a huge part.
Okay. Now, what about the decision part? It was a decision that you had to make, right? So you back to the fork in the road. What were the decisions you had to make when you lost that car? What was going to be the next thing for you?
Transportation and living. At the time, it was about a 15-minute drive to get to work, and I was still a 9-to-5 employee.
Okay.
That 15 minutes then jumped to 45 minutes. Which is why I said, okay, now I have this time. How am I going to utilize the time?
Right.
Okay. So what ended up happening is I still have to get to where I have to get to. So trains and buses it is.
Yeah.
While I'm on these trains and buses for that hour, well, I had my study material. and I was studying on the trip.
Right.
I would try to take quizzes, and I printed out the entire quiz, 7 pages, whatever the case may be, and I tested myself from the time I started my trip on this bus until I reached my destination.
Yeah.
I want to finish all the questions by the time I get there.
Yeah.
What ended up happening was I was memorizing these questions and the answers. So what ended up happening was when I went to go take my real estate test, because this is when I was studying for the test actually,
Gotcha.
and you
All
know,
right.
and trying to get myself started.
Yeah.
So once I came down to this test, aced it first try.
Nice.
You know, and I was able to create a system to help others as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's this crazy thing, right, that happens in life, and I tell people, you know, sometimes you got to let go to receive what's next. You know what I mean?
You know, if I have to say, the best things out of life really come during tragedy. It doesn't usually come during success.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, so right.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're 100% right. I can tell you multiple times, like in multiple areas of my life where I've seen that to be true. You know what I mean? So for sure.
In fact, Jay-Z has a lyric. He says, "I had more fun when I was pissed poor. I'm pissed off." You know, and that stuck out for me.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm sure he's having a lot of fun right now, though.
I'm sure of it.
$1 billion, right? So okay, walk me through that journey, right? Because so here you are, you lose the car, you're still trying to figure out your way. I guess the decision was to continue on this path or not to continue on this path, right? To become successful. You going now. You're studying for your real estate exam. You took the real estate exam. You passed it. When did you officially get started in real estate, and how was that transition for you?
It was immediate. That transaction was immediate. I didn't have a choice, you know. So I made a huge decision to step away from my 9 to 5, you know, and I kept it a secret from literally everybody because everybody would have been jumping down my throat. What are you doing? You're insane. How could you do this?
Right.
But I know that was coming.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to hear what I already knew.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it didn't have to make sense for anyone else. It just had to make sense for me.
Right.
So I eliminated that. And that was the leap I was talking about.
Right.
You know,
okay.
And I have to show a lot, you know, give credit where credit's due. I have a very good friend of mine that encouraged me to take this leap. Talk about that a little later, but that played a huge part. So anyway, when I did take that leap, I still have rent to pay.
Yeah.
You know, I still have bills to pay, and it's like, okay, Mike, I just quit my job. I'm losing my mind. I have no car. I'm starting real estate. I don't have clients. What am I about to do?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So now there's one or two things I can say. You know what? I can panic and say, I just lost my mind. Let me run back and beg and plead for my job back, which, by the way, ended up going bankrupt.
Get out.
Or in the recent future. Or I could, you know, scrounge around to try to find another 9 to 5, but I would never get paid what I was getting paid anyway.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I would have collapsed. Because no matter what, I wouldn't have made that jump. I would have gave up too soon, so I would never know what would have came out of it. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as being ready, so why am I procrastinating? Mm-hmm. So all of these things were going through my head, you know, and because, like I said earlier, I didn't let anybody know, my mind went.
Yeah, who's anybody? Who's anybody?
Friends, family.
Okay, all right.
That when I mean anybody, I'm specifically talking about friends and family, close friends and immediate family. My mother, my brother, people, you know, things like that.
Yeah, so like everybody knew that you lost the car though, right? People knew that.
Everybody knew that. I mean, that's not something you can hide. It was like, hey, yeah, you walked here? Like, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, you know, so it was a rapid decline.
Yep.
But during the decline, I went tunnel vision into real estate.
Right.
I was motivated. I'm still motivated. Yeah, and nobody could tell me anything different.
So
You
what
could
I'm
tell me I'm
wondering,
crazy, but I'm
yeah, you gotta be. I say that to a lot of people. You gotta be crazy to get into any kind of sales based business, any commission based business. You gotta be some kind of crazy, right? You just gotta figure out what kind of
you
crazy
need
you,
it.
yeah. You gotta figure out what kind of crazy you are, right? So okay, when you lose the car and you're going and you aren't people talking to you and trying to tell you, hey, you know, you need stability, you need security, you need an income, you need a job. Aren't people trying to talk to you, or were people trying to talk to you and tell you, hey, you need to not go this route, you need a new car, what are you doing? Were you getting a lot of that, or were you getting a lot of support to go for real estate?
So the thing is, I was getting support in going into real estate, and I was getting the feedback, the what are you doing? You need the income and things like that. And you're not wrong. You're
Yeah,
not wrong, but it's not where I wanted to be, so I can continue down this path, which is like, okay, I could work the 9 to 5 and I can agree to everybody and I could do what everyone tells me. But does that mean I'm living for me at that point, or I'm living for everybody else?
yeah,
So this is something you really have to think about, because everybody has something to say about everything,
yeah,
which is why, social media is this huge success.
yeah, yeah.
You post a picture, everyone got a comment about it, and the more comments you get, the bigger it gets, and now boom, you're viral and famous.
Yeah, your opinion goes
So
viral. So let's go into a little bit
exactly.
here, right? Because this is what I'm having a hard time with, okay? Listening to you talk about
Okay.
it and describe the situation, and as you were going through this transition, you sound very strong. Like there was there was no ambivalence, right? Like you pretty much sound like you had your mind made up. Okay, lost my car, right? I'm gonna bounce back. I'm just gonna find out how to do it. I'm gonna study while I travel. I'm gonna study while I'm on the bus, while I'm on the train, while I'm doing what I got to do, right? But in your post here, you write down, and this is what gets me because I'm like, yo, when did dudes start talking like this, right? Because I'm a guy who thinks like this, right?
Hmm.
And I think I talk to a lot of people who think like this, but for me to get them to, to express it, to articulate it, it's like pulling teeth to use these words, okay? Scared, lonely, depressed, anxious, right? So many emotions, okay? We're going into like emotional intelligence right now, right?
Hmm.
And we're going into like self-awareness right now. All right. So these are really powerful, powerful, powerful words for you to accept, first of all, internally,
Hmm.
and then articulate, okay? And then share them. That right there is like a 3 point, suicide mission right there. Real, like that's real talk, right? So as I'm hearing you describe your situation and I'm hearing you talk about it, I really don't see where the fear was. I don't see where the loneliness was. I don't see where the depression was. It sounds like you had your mind made up. I kind of want to go into that a little bit, right? What was scary about the
Hmm.
situation? Where did you feel lonely in the situation? And what was the depression like for you? How did you come out of that?
Ooh. First off, it's just going in a state of depression and alone when you don't have anything. A lot of people, have trouble coming out of. So I really wanted to just be that. First off, wanted to be a beacon. Past all of that, I was lonely more so literally. It's not like I'm not married,
Okay.
or I don't have a girlfriend at the time or anything like that.
Right.
So I have, who do I really talk to about this besides close friends? But I didn't really let anyone know of this sudden decision. So instead of getting scolded for why are you telling me this now and why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that,
Right.
it would have fell back into what I was trying to avoid. So the mindset of going through this, you read a lot about it, But to actually live it is a whole other situation. But now it's time to put what you learn to action.
Right.
So living on my own, no significant other. I do have my daughter, so I'm afraid more so I can't help her than what's about to happen to me. Because I had made up my mind, and I was fully accepting on any of the consequences that came along with it. Once I accepted that, it helped me get out of that depression bubble, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
That acceptance.
Yeah. Were you functional? Were you functional when you were in that state? Were you, some people when they're depressed, they're still kind of functional. Some people aren't. How were you? Were you functional?
I was in between. I was in a gray area, to be honest with you, because I was functional during my day to day, but when I get home at night, a house, you open the door, the house is dark.
Yeah.
No one lives there but you. So
Yeah.
I walk inside the house, I close the door, I don't switch on any light, and I sit on the floor, legs crossed, middle of my living room, and just have my own breakdown. I'm crying, I'm frantic, I'm not hungry, I'm losing weight, I'm not working out as consistently. Everything I'm used to doing just started going away.
You're the ego.
But that's right, but if you were to knock on my door, the lights come on and I have a fresh face for you ready to say hello.
That's well, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's because that's the mask. That's the mask right there. So you know how to, yeah.
That's the mask that many of us live behind.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love that you're able to see that, right? And even looking back, it's like, okay, I know this about me, right? Here's what's tricky, because I could tell you in the beginning, right? Like I've been through so many different stages in my life that, when you get to that level of vulnerability within yourself and you can say, hey, I'm going to sit in a dark room and I'm just going to go ahead and let it out, right? There's a level of acceptance there. And then, you got to let it pass through. You got to go through, you got to let it just pass through, run its course kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so how did you get out of it is the question now. It's like, okay, how long did it go on for? And what made you get out of it? What was the motivator for you?
Well, this was going on for almost 2 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Living like this. Luckily, I made it to the end of the term of my lease, and that would be a whole other interview on how I made it to there, but I made it.
Yeah.
So, and I made it just briefly. I made it by literally doing anything I could. One of the biggest things that I've done, and this is going to sound silly to a lot of people, and even to your listeners, they're going to go, you did what?
Yeah.
But I did, I would go to, it was actually kind of fun. I went to garage sales and thrift shops.
Huh.
And what I did was, and this is just for any extra money, because remember, I don't have my 9 to 5 anymore.
Okay.
So what I did was I would find products that I knew that people like, because whether it's fashionable, I like fashion. I don't know if you can tell, but fashionable,
right,
or something useful, and then I would search it online and find out how much they're selling for.
Yeah.
Based on how much they're selling for, and a lot of times it was it's $80, $100, and I'm buying it for 10.
Yeah.
And then so I was flipping it.
Yeah.
And then that made up for a lot of the income.
Gotcha.
So that's just one way. There was a couple of things I was doing, but it was I don't want to fall off. Because I get excited. So
no, talk to me, because people want to hear this. People need this.
Can you repeat?
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question? Because I'm gonna go deep into this.
No. Yeah, I want you to. I really hope you do, because people need to hear this right now. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that they got the mask on every day. They're going to work every day, but they're dealing with real life stuff. So the question was, how did you? Just give us maybe some bullet points, right? That some people can implement when it comes to first sitting with that loneliness, right? That fear, right? And then also how to kind of be functional so that you can slowly get out of it, right? Before it becomes a full-on depression.
Right. So I'm gonna say this first and foremost. You gotta find a hobby. You
Gotta
have
find
to
a
find a
hobby.
hobby. You gotta find something that's gonna stimulate your mind.
Yeah.
You have to. For me, for me, it's music. I don't make music. I'm not a musician. I just like listening to music.
Yeah.
When I personally had to focus, I would listen to maybe like a lo-fi tune with something with no lyrics,
Yeah.
because this way your mind pretty much goes into like this trance. At least this is completely my opinion, but it goes into this trance,
Yeah.
and it could be something for anybody. You could like coloring books.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with coloring books as an adult,
Yeah.
but it's something that's going to keep your mind focused
Right.
so that you can make it through the day.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I'm going to want to say, because that when that loneliness kicks in and you start realizing, wow, I can't call this somebody, or I don't want to speak to anybody, or I'm so beat down, I just don't even want to be seen in public eye.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, the only thing I would say to stay sane is you have to keep your mind stimulated, active.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That and rest.
Yeah. Okay.
And rest. You gotta learn when to say. You gotta learn when to stop.
All right. When did you start to see a change in your situation? Like, when did you start to see a change, like an improvement in your situation? After that 2 year mark, like what was the signs? What were the signs that your mindset was starting to change?
It honestly had to have been after I moved out of my apartment.
Okay.
When I moved out of my apartment, I had a studio apartment. I ended up moving into a room close to my office.
Okay.
So that's when I guess things kind of clicked, because it's like, okay, I don't have a designated way of transportation. I have my feet and I have a Metro card.
Mm-hmm.
Or bus pass, for those
Right.
of you that don't know what a Metro card is.
Right. One of these here.
So,
right there. Right that one.
I always carry one. Even when I have my car, I always have one active.
Yeah.
You never know.
Right.
So anyway, I'd walk almost, close to a mile getting to my gym.
Right.
And I would get there early and I would leave late every single day. So I knew, if I can't get to you by car, especially if you're in Suffolk County or whatever the case may be, I'm on foot. I'm going to make it my duty to get there before any buyers. I'm going to be the best expert for my sellers. So I had no choice but to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
By doing this consistently, it became habit. Once it became habit, it's now second nature, and that saying I'm going over the top becomes normal. So then I find ways to create a new go above and beyond.
Right.
And that gave me a reputation of always being reliable.
Yeah.
And so that really did it for me after that move.
Okay. So you've always had this will to succeed? Like, have you always been like this? Were you like this as a kid? Like, how'd you grow up?
I grew up, a large portion of my life in Queens, Flushing, and in Jamaica area specifically.
Yeah.
So growing up, I went through the public school system, and a lot of people actually don't know this about me, but I was a special needs child.
Oh.
Through my entire schooling career.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because we've met because of my writing.
Yeah.
But that also wasn't always the case. I was reading at a second, third grade level all the way until I'd say 8th or 9th grade.
Oh wow.
But here's the thing. I've always been writing.
That's
so
amazing.
It's weird. So I was a confused kid, because it's like, okay, if I'm good at this, why am I failing? I'm getting trophies for this, but I'm failing.
Right.
And then I suffered with depression, I guess, and anxiety back then as well, because I'm in these special education classrooms. I don't believe there's anything wrong with me, but teacher after teacher after doctor is telling me I'm incapable of learning. I did hear that certain material. I was diagnosed, believe it or not, with Tourette's at 8 years old. I felt fine, but I'm on medications, and it just became a nightmare.
Yeah.
So my schooling career never really took off. You know, I didn't do exceptional well academically. I
Right.
failed consistently. And then, so I knew there had to be something else I can do. And I noticed this around high school.
Okay.
I'm in a much better school situation. So I had a pretty, I mean, I could say this. I had a good upbringing. And I was raised by my mother. She did literally everything she could to make sure that I could be the best person and the best man that I could be.
Yeah. What high school did you go to?
And I love her and I respect her for that. I went to Central High School in Valley Stream.
Okay. I don't know that one. Cuz I went to a couple of
No?
no, I don't know that one. I went to a couple of schools in Queens. I went to John Bound for like a year. I went to Newtown for like
Okay.
from John Bound. I took a writing. So you know how I think your writing stood out to me because you're writing in a story format, and so it's like you kind of want to know what happens next. You weren't writing like in a post format. The way you're writing your story is very storytelling format. So I'm keep reading and I want to put the phone down. I'm like, but I want to know what happens next. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it was your writing that pulled me in. You know what I mean? And I can see it because I'm a writer too. Like I like to write too. And when I was in Bound, I was in a writing program. When I was like in elementary, I was in a writing program. I was like in a talented and gifted program, and they teach you how to write. You know what I mean? So like I saw that, and that stood out to me. I think a lot of times, just listening to you talk, right? I think a lot of times it's like we have so much going on internally, and we don't have anybody to share it with, so we continue to internalize. And sometimes what happens is we're still processing what's going on internally, and we were never left to finish processing. Things keep interrupting us processing what's going on internally. So writing allows us to express that, right? So
Correct.
I've heard that, and I've had friends in special ed when it was like a thing to always get into fights over, like, right? Because they used to call the kids spit ed and they used to make fun of them and all of that, right?
Oh, yeah, you get a lot. You got a lot of
So
those.
those were some of my friends, man. And I got to tell you, they had skills in other areas that us kids who weren't in special ed didn't have. You know what I mean?
You want to know something? I'm gonna be 100% honest here. I believe the future billionaires of the world are in those special education classes
Yep.
because and I say this because the curriculum in these classes are not the same. Where everybody else are basically being led to live a certain type of lifestyle. you know, we are more taught, certain specific things on certain trades and things like that. And it kind of, looking back at it now, it makes it feel like, wow, you kind of, it feels like to me, it's like, I feel like I'm not meant to be in the workforce like everybody else. So
Yeah.
what else can I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
You're an out the because that's what it is, right? I think in that you become free reign, like your thoughts become free reign. You become like an independent thinker, and when
That's
you
right.
become when you
There it is.
right, and you process information differently than an entire class of 25 kids. You're processing the
Exactly.
information differently, and that what's not fair too about the curriculum is like the school system is like the ratio is off. You can't have a 2 to 25. You can't have a 25 to 2. It doesn't work. 25 students to like a teacher and a teacher's assistant. It doesn't work because everybody processes information differently. You know what I mean?
That's correct.
So it's like,
That's
okay.
correct.
Now, what I'm wondering with you though, especially with the way that you seem to be definitive in your thought process, right? And as a kid, when you're being met with so much, I guess, I don't even know how to phrase it, but like people are not seeing things your way as a kid. You're in a special eds class. You grew up with a single parent mom, right?
Yes.
You're not really, nobody's coddling you or having helping you express yourself or asking you, hey Mike, what's wrong? Talk to me about it, whatever it is. You're not getting a lot of that. You're not getting a lot of support, but you seem very definitive in your thought process, right? So
Yes.
with all of that, what makes you want to help people? That's another thing that's a little tricky.
Because I want to help people more so because I, I feel it's my duty to do so. Almost, growing up, I didn't live a lavish lifestyle or anything like that. I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
But so it's like I want to kind of show people that you don't have to. And this is kind of cliche because you hear this over the decades of multiple people saying this, but you don't have to live the way you've grown up, the environment you were grown up in.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's too many different ways out.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I want to show people, because everyone has a certain type of struggle, some worse than others.
Yeah.
Their good days, their bad days, but it's what do we do to stay motivated, to stay strong during those bad days that's going to lead you out.
Yeah.
And those questions that people are going crazy trying to figure out that can't be answered, I feel somebody like me can answer a few of those questions. Mm-hmm. Maybe not directly to what you're dealing with, but indirectly, I may know or have done something that you are just starting to figure out that I can help you overcome.
Got it. Yeah.
If I can do that, I've achieved my goal.
Right. Where do you see that opportunity to do that in real estate?
To be honest, it's on a day-to-day basis. Because if you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So if you listen more, speak less. And the more you listen, you'll realize people will tell you exactly what the problem is and exactly what they want.
Right.
You have to be the one to kind of like to grab it and bring it out to light.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you look at people and go, yeah. But if you can nitpick those things and then bring it to light without having them tell you, directly,
yeah,
it increases your value.
Yeah. Where'd you learn that skill, man? Where'd you learn that skill? Because not everybody can listen.
That's I learned that as I was growing up. I was very fast to react instead of think, and I would get in consistent trouble.
Yeah.
Because of it.
Yeah.
So I was tired of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So I realized, wait, I can't react immediately. I have to stop and think. So by doing that, I realized people will tell me what the problem is, whether it's you drank my chocolate milk.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I had my name on it. But little did I know your name is Mike also. So normally where I would react and, well, it's mine, and get into this huge fight. I was like, I could wait and hear. Like, well, I put mine here and I put my name on it. Oh, wait, your name is Mike? Yes. Oh, my name is Mike. You know what? I did drink it. I apologize. I didn't know your name was Mike. Let me get you another chocolate.
Right.
Small things like that.
Right.
Can lead to a humongous outcome, because that Mike could be probably the biggest business partner in the future that I could ever work with. I don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay.
It's that's why I got that skill.
Yeah, listening is important, right? It's like active listening too.
Very
It's like
important.
I took a training back in maybe 2010, 2011. It was an active listening class, and I was being trained to become a sales agent. And I felt like a lot of these classes didn't really make any sense to me, and that was one of them. I was like, what do you mean active listening? I have no problem listening. I can, but then they broke down the difference between hearing something and actually listening, right? And
Yeah,
it's actually a skill, right? Because a lot of people still
it
talk on a very
is.
surface level, right? And what's interesting to me is that maybe, from listening to you talk, and it doesn't sound like you ever had a sounding board, right? Did you ever have a sounding board? Anybody that you could express yourself to? Maybe took the time to hear you out. Did you ever have that?
Uh, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I probably did, but I never saw it.
Okay,
If that makes sense.
so
I have a very difficult time trusting, so I didn't really open up.
So that's what I'm
You know.
struggling with too, right? It's like
So
modeling.
yeah,
When I first started out
yeah,
with sales, it was like, okay, I need to model. I can model pretty much anything, right? But listening is not something you can model. You know what I mean? So it's
that's
like,
right.
it's hard to model that. You have to actually learn how to listen, right? So then you get this whole, now we've got this 70-30 rule, right? Where it's like you do 70% of the listening, 30% of the talking, right? Allow the
Exactly.
person that you're talking to do the talking and then check off the boxes so you can identify the problems, right?
Exactly.
And then when you hear it, make sure you can express it to them and say, "Hey, this is what I'm hearing X, Y, and Z." We're talking back in 2010, maybe 2011. I'm still learning new ways of listening today. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because listening is
Hmm.
so important, and people speak so many different ways with their body language, with the words that they say. I think 85% of what we say is not actually said through our words, right?
That's right.
So it's like, are you listening
Through your
for
body
that?
language.
Yeah, it's through body language. The other thing I'm wondering with you is, okay, did you ever get the car back? Because like you just said, you were showing up to buyers. You were showing up to buyers appointments. You did you ever get a car? Did you ever replace the car? Like,
uh, Not yet, actually.
okay,
Not yet, actually. Actually, this year, ironically, I will be. I'm searching for a new vehicle.
okay.
But
So you're just Ubering,
it's been some time.
you're
It's
Ubering
been some
around.
time.
You're doing the Uber thing.
Uber, bus, walk. I get. You know, what I mean, it's not all that. You know, it's a little easier now than where I was. I'll put it like that.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, I don't have a car, but I do have a better means of transportation.
All right. Are you in a position to say that because you can help people through real estate, buy houses, sell houses, and everything, right? Are you in a position to help people realize or to let go so that they can receive? Because to me, it sounds like and I had to ask you that first. I had to ask you if you got the car back because it sounds like you were able to let go of the idea of the car, and right now the car is not as important as it was back then. Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
Okay.
That's definitely fair.
You know how long it took me to get there personally? Like after I
How long?
oh forget it, I'm still working on it because
Still working on
still work.
it.
It's a
See,
damn. It's a
it's a never-ending process.
yeah. That's what I'm trying to. Yeah, it's an ongoing process. When I crashed that car, and I totaled it. First of all, my friend's uncle had a body shop, so we were able to get it fixed, right? And I hustled to
Hmm.
get it fixed. I gave like my arm and leg to get that car fixed, all right? And then we sold it, and then I got another car. But the whole thing for me was my ability to succeed was showing up in me being able to buy and sell these cars, right? Here's what
Right.
happened. When I went broke, because the last car I sold, I had to get rid of it and it didn't make sense. And then the bills got ahead of me and I went completely broke. I started doing Zipcar. You know what I mean? And when I started doing Zipcar, I started to realize that I didn't really need the car like that. It was just making me feel like something that I wasn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
It made me feel like I was
Exactly.
successful even though I wasn't at that
Exactly.
level of success. It was showing up in the car. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Exactly. And that's the power of materialistic items.
Yeah.
You know, like think about it like this. Like maybe it's not a car, right? Maybe it's clothes, for example. You wear a sweatsuit every single day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's comfortable, You know, it's great. You know, you see people every single day. You
Yeah.
know, but you know, you walk into banks and grocery stores, and you know, it's just you in some sweats.
Right.
You know, and then all of a sudden, let's say that following week, you decide to wear a suit every day. Tell me that wouldn't change your attitude toward your day to day,
Right.
how you feel, how you walk,
Right.
how you talk.
Right.
All of a
Right.
sudden, you have more bass in your voice
Yeah.
on that Monday.
Yeah.
And, you know, and even it psychologically makes you kind of want to wake up a little bit earlier because now you're excited to have the suit on.
Right. Right.
You go to a grocery store, you go to a bank or anything like that, you notice people are looking at you.
Right.
You feel great.
Right. Right.
You know, a lot of these things have a lot of power.
Yeah.
You know, you're driving a Toyota Prius versus the newest Mercedes. There's going to be a huge difference on how you feel.
Yeah.
You know.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. You're right.
It's powerful. It's
Yeah.
powerful.
It
And that's
really-
why it's addicting.
Yeah. The materialism, chasing the material, right?
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
go into real estate now, right? Because when you get into real estate, and the more successful you are with real estate, you know, you buy the cars, you buy the suits, you know, you stand out. Like, so you start doing the personal, yeah, you start doing the personal branding thing. So it's a constant struggle, right? You're pretty good on IG and like promoting yourself, branding yourself, right? And just listening to you talk, I can't tell that I don't think you're extrinsically motivated. These material items are not what motivates you. That's not what does it for you. I can tell that just by listening to you talk. But I look at your IG, Mike. I look at your IG, and your IG says something completely different. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah?
I mean, you can tell just by looking that this guy is he's spot on. He's a professional. He knows what he's doing. The one that stood out to me is you walk into this property in Brooklyn and it's completely like it's a wreck, right? It looks like a crack house, right? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the real deal, nitty gritty, the disgusting deals that are investor friendly, right? Talk to me about that. What attracts you to those deals?
Because what attracts me is because although there are thousands of real estate agents, right? There's a smaller market of realtors that deal with investors, and you come to realize that because you're seeing the same names everywhere.
Yeah.
And also it's like, okay, there's a little less competition here, but when you work with investors, it's so much more direct. You know, so it's less selling yourself, more so selling the asset.
Yep.
You know, so the only way to really understand the asset is you have to be in it.
Yeah.
So, and what investors want, they want something that they can put their vision to. They can put their spin on and sell for a profit.
Yeah.
Which means you're gonna have to get your hands dirty. It's gonna have to happen. You gotta walk into these homes with the hole in the ceiling or a hole in the floor.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to inspect these dark, creepy, moldy, sometimes there's dead animals in there.
Yeah.
You have a flashlight. You're like, wait a minute, there's a holes in the floor. You know, you have to be the one to do that.
Yeah. You just don't look like the kind of guy that will walk into one of those deals, Mike.
And that is the illusion.
Yeah.
Right there.
Right.
That's the illusion.
Yeah. That's where.
Believe me, I have no.
Yeah, that's where I think you become really interesting. Where it's like, wait, hold on a second, right? Like this dude, like if you're following him, you look like more like you'll be doing luxury real estate. You know what I mean? Like you look like you'll be doing more luxury real estate. You're in the nitty gritty. Like
I'm in there. I'm in the trenches. I'm getting dirty. Yes.
Yeah. Let's go through that process though. Let's go through that process though, because those are not only the hardest deals to do, right? There's a lot more variables in those deals than regular residential deals, right?
Yes, there's a lot of work involved.
A lot of work involved. So, all right, let's go through okay, my hardest one. I'll tell you my hardest one. I want to know about your hardest one. But my hardest one was a building on in Ocean Hill on Fulton Street, Rockaway and Fulton, right around there, right? I'll never forget it because it looked like what was that movie with Wesley Snipes? Nino Brown.
Paid in full.
Paid. No, not that
Wait, was
one.
that no?
Nino Brown. He played Nino Brown.
It wasn't Paid in full.
No. That's Harlem.
That was
Nino Brown. Hold on, I'm gonna.
Oh man, how am I not?
Cause
getting this now. I know the movie.
Yeah, I'm
it's
sure.
Like it's on the tip of my tongue. It's driving me crazy.
Oh, I'm gonna Google it right now, right? But so that deal, all right,
New Jack City.
New Jack City. You said it. That's the one.
It was killing me. It was killing me.
Yeah, that's the one. I've watched that movie a million times, right? I just can't remember the name. Right. But I bring that up because the building that I sold was like one of those crack houses. All right. And I mean, the ceiling was caved in completely. We had an appraiser walk in. The appraiser said that the place was worth about 1.2, right? Just because the ceiling was caved in on the third floor. All right. It was a mixed use property. I mean, not only that, when you walked into one of the back rooms, there was an incessant amount of rat shit just coming out of the ceilings. All right.
No.
And when I say incessant, I mean every time I went, there would be more falling from the ceiling. You know what I mean? When we opened up, they opened up the walls, we found that not only was it like they had squatters in there, we found crack vials, you name it, in that property. All right. It had the worst stench. When you walked into like the second floor, you start to get that stench from the third floor. All right. And it appraised for like 1.2. We winded up closing it for about 1.1. The buyer did a power move because he thought we weren't going to try. He thought we weren't going to show up, right? So the guy, mind you, it's in Ocean Hill, all right? He decides he wants the closing done in Suffolk County. Okay? He wants the closing done at his attorney's office in Suffolk County. I literally had $5 in my pocket and maybe $5 worth of gas. Okay? That $5 worth of gas got me to the night before. I decide I'm going to park the car at my boy's driveway. He lives in Queens. He lives like right outside of Jamaica Estates. All right. Or pretty close to Jamaica Estates, like Hollis around there, right? I decide I'm gonna get on a bus. I'm gonna take the bus to my boy's crib, and I'm gonna get in my car and drive the car to Suffolk. All right. He lent me like $10. I put gas in the car and made it out to Suffolk. All right. I get out to Suffolk. I get to the attorney's office. He shows up late. The buyers show up late. When we get there, you know how long closings are, right? Mm-hmm. So I sit in the closing, whatever. We showed up. We made it. My sellers live in Bushwick. All right. So they had to also troop it all the way out to Suffolk County. Okay. The seller, the man, the husband, he's like 72 years old. The wife is 68. Old people, right? The elderly. They went out to Suffolk with the attorney was their nephew. Okay. So everybody gets in the nephew's car and they meet us out there. Went well, closed the deal. I made about 30 grand off that deal before I paid the house. Okay, that's before I paid the house. I was on a 70-30 commission at that time, right? I'm driving back. We closed the deal, everything. Took about 8 hours, whatever. I'm driving back. I got literally maybe $2 worth of gas in the tank, all right? I'm driving back. I have no choice but to pull up at a gas station because I don't want to be, I'm stuck here in Suffolk freaking County, right? I'm stuck there. So I pull up to a gas station. Luckily for me, I'm suited up, right? I take off my tie. I didn't know. I mean, it's kind of just figuring it out. I take off my tie. I leave the tie in the car and I'm at the gas station. I park the car at the pump and I'm panhandling with my suit on. I've got a $30,000 check in my hand, okay? Signed out to the office. It's not signed out to me. It's signed out to the office.
Right.
I got a $30,000 check in my hand, and I'm panhandling, asking people for gas money. I made about $30. Okay, panhandling.
Pretty good.
Yo, they take care of you when you got a suit on.
Pretty good. When you have a suit on, that's right.
Yeah, I'm stuck. I'm at the gas. I'm stuck here. I'm trying to get back. I ran out of gas. I don't have any money. Lost my wallet. Right. Made $30. Bought lunch, and drove all the way back to Brooklyn with my check. No lie. If it wasn't for my hustler's mentality, I don't know how I would have gotten out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And you know what's crazy? When you're in that situation, something clicks. And you end up doing things that you realize you would never do just to make it.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And so the thing is, anybody can make it, because if you could figure that out on how I can get this done, and I'm sure it took you like an hour, I want to say, something like that.
Yeah, more or less. If
you could do that in an hour, if you contribute that level of hustle, every day, imagine what you could do. Right. Because that's all the business is.
Yeah. After that, I swore to myself I would never let that happen again. You know what I mean?
I'm sure of it.
Yeah. And nobody knew that I had to go through that. I went to that office and I rang the bell and I was like, I got paid. Maybe I'm going to make it rain. Yeah.
They didn't even bring up the gas.
Yeah, don't forget it. That's part of the game. Man, listen, I had singles in my hand at that time. I had a bunch of singles. So I was like, man, I can get paid anywhere on God's green earth, man. I can make it happen.
It don't matter.
Yeah.
It don't matter. Yep.
Do you have any stories like that?
Yeah. You know, I do. You know, it's not as it may not be as interesting as that, but I did have a deal, that I was working on with an investor, and that I thought for sure was going to be my first one.
Yeah.
And I was so excited because, I'm working with this investor, and, I guess this investor takes a liking to me, so he's really trying to put me on game, which is why, by the way, I stay humble, and I have a great mentor that taught me that, actually. I stay humble with everybody because you never know who you're going to meet.
Right.
So this really stood out with this investor. So we're working together. He's kind of, teaching me certain mistakes I'm making. It was like, you got to correct this, and really gave me a chance. So he goes, listen, I have a property, I want you to work it with me. Gave me that shot. I said, no problem, because I could always bet on me. I know my work ethic.
Yeah.
So I hit the ground running. I'm meeting buyers, I'm meeting other investors, I'm trying to get this thing done. After a couple of months of headache, and it was grueling headache because we had consistent communication issues with the seller and showings and things like that.
Yeah.
Come to find out, the seller's 94 years old, and doesn't live in this house. So we had to go halfway across Brooklyn, pick up keys, drive all the way back, and then it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Long story short, finally find a buyer. 2.5 months go by, almost 3 months go by. This deal is supposed to be 30-day closing. It's all cash.
Right.
About three other months come by. We come to find out there's a huge discrepancy over who showed who the property.
Right.
And so now we're in front of the building, right? Trying to hash these things out. We end up going back to me, my investor, this other gentleman who I might have never met before, and somebody that's seen the property. Right?
Yeah.
So a fist fight breaks out.
What?
In front of the building.
What?
2 grown men fighting over who showed what first. This is the craziest thing I'm ever witnessing. In the back of my head, I'm like, is this what I have to look forward to?
Right.
I didn't think this was a contact career.
Yeah, if that's the case, yeah.
So there's a huge fist fight. Police come, break it up, the whole 9 yards. Long story short, we come to an agreement, right? Okay, there's, everyone comes to an agreement. We're able to close.
Yeah.
No problem. 2 days before the closing, we find out that this person that got into this huge fist fight, I don't know. But come to find out, he's trying to sell off the contract. You can't do that.
Right.
3 days before closing.
Right.
Now, guess what? Everything is halted once again. Once we finally come to an agreement one more time, about a month later, we get to the closing table.
A month later? Wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Month later, we finally get to the closing table.
Yeah.
And it only took this long because we were actually trying to find a new buyer, but it just wasn't working out. So, okay, long story short, I'm sorry, I'm ready to close, let's do it. Great. Set up the closing, great. No issues, no problem. Everyone's gonna get paid, everybody's gonna be happy. Now it's time to get to the closing. We're at the closing table.
Yeah.
You think we closed?
I hope so. After all that.
Not close.
What?
We did not close.
Oh man.
This guy gets up, walks clean out of the closing table. If he doesn't walk away with $40,000, nobody at the table is making anywhere near that amount.
What? Dang. That's crazy.
It was disastrous.
How much money did you lose on that deal?
20 grand.
Oof. Yeah. That's tough. That's tough. Yeah. That's tough. I need people to hear that because that's real. You know what I mean?
This is real.
That's real.
I cannot make this up.
Yeah, it's not the fluff you see on HGTV or $1 million listings. It's real, bro. Like, it's real.
You want to know something? I wish they would have one of those shows where they would show the real.
Yeah.
Yeah. The real
real
residential
deal.
estate. Something like that.
Yeah.
So people could really see the grittiness behind real estate and what really goes on behind the scenes. I honestly think that'd be make interesting on TV.
Oh yeah, I definitely watch it. Yeah, I think at the end of the day,
alone you could have seasons.
Yeah. I think it's up to people like us to make that happen. You know what I mean? It's up to people like us to make that happen. People who are in the trenches dealing with that kind of those kinds of deals. Because at the end of the day, it's like we need each one teach one, right? Each one teach one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, right? Just because we're getting closer to wrapping it up. Where do you see where do you see things in the next, maybe the real estate market, your career, your mindset, say 10 years, within the next 10 years? What do things look like for you?
Well, everything changes around you. So although we don't know the outcome, we can kind of dictate how we're going to handle certain things. So I had my mind in between New York and other states.
Okay. Yeah.
Baltimore, North Carolina, for example, Florida. I kind of want to start venturing out a little bit, but at the same time, within the first 2 years, within 2 years from today, I can say, I want to start building a team.
Okay.
Okay. So this way we could really help each other grow and really capitalize on the New York market, because we don't, it's crazy right now. We've never seen anything like this, so we don't know which direction the housing market is going. However, the career of real estate can be recession proof as long as you do your due diligence on where the market shifts are.
Yeah.
So you never want to rely on just one way. There's so many ways in real estate that you can capitalize. You don't want to rely on one way. So after the first 2 years building a team, I want to take the next maybe year or so, getting licensed in other states, and if it calls for it on that 5th year, if I'm in New York, fantastic. If not, then I'll be in another state conducting business in both New York and that state. Yeah. And that's something I've been thinking about for a while. Yeah. As the market starts to switch and change.
Yeah. Yeah, you see a lot of New Yorkers going out to like Florida and Texas and Arizona, right?
Florida, Texas, man, that's rough. So Florida, Texas, North Carolina, Atlanta, people are leaving New York left and right. But
Yeah,
at the same time, New York is still New York.
yeah,
So, we're known for having these crashes and then rebuilding stages. And I believe it's going to pick back up again.
yeah, yeah. I think so.
But while we're here now, for the people that are here now that are living in New York, like myself, I'm here for them,
Yeah,
no matter what.
yeah. Do you see yourself getting into the investment side? Building,
Absolutely, 100%.
building your.
Within the 5 years, definitely, I'm going to be getting into the investment, which is the part of me starting a team, so I would have a consistent flow of income, and the team will have their success as well.
Yeah,
As that success arises, I'll be able to then venture off into a full-time investor, which, by the way, was my goal coming into real estate ultimately,
yeah,
which is one of the huge reasons why I'm in these trenches.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Because it's all opportunity. It's all opportunity.
around every corner,
Yeah,
around
yeah,
every corner. Are you just going to see? Are you going to seize the opportunity or not?
yeah. For sure, definitely. I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. All right, we'll play a quick game. It's called Hands Down, the lightning round. Okay, I'm gonna ask you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you three quick questions. Right, you tell me your opinion about these three questions. Right, if you don't like the question, just say pass, and I'll move on to the next one. All right.
All right. Let's go.
All right. So, in light of current racial tension in the world, or in America, in this country, right? I'm going to ask you this. Who is the blackest white guy that you could think of?
I wasn't even prepared for you to ask me that, man.
Good. The blackest white guy that
white
you could
guy.
think of.
That I can think of right now off the top of my head.
Yeah. Maybe on TV, in sports.
Tay Diggs.
Tay Diggs. Wait.
I met him actually.
You met Tay Diggs?
Tay Diggs.
He's the blackest white guy you could think of? No, you can't use him. You can't use him.
Can't you say this? Okay.
No, because that would be the whitest black guy you could think of. So that.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So that'll be my next. That was gonna be my next question. So
your
you
next
just
question?
yeah.
Okay.
So you still got to give me. We got Tay Diggs for the whitest black guy that you could think of.
The blackest white guy. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Can it be like a character on the television?
Yeah. I'll give you mine. You want to know mine?
Tommy from Power.
Yes.
I don't know his name. But
Yeah.
Tommy from Power.
Tommy from Power. No, because like the actor Joseph Sikora, he's a white guy. He's a straight up white guy, nice guy, everything. But on Power, Tommy, that is the blackest white guy.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, all right, man.
Yeah.
You're still getting the N-word passes, but okay.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. That's the guy I'm thinking about, right? And I'm also thinking about Chris from The Sopranos. I don't know if you ever watched The Sopranos.
Okay.
Right? Dude there's one episode where he throws a guy right out the window, right? And I'll give you one more. Blackest white guy I could think of, Kramer from Seinfeld.
Never seen Seinfeld a day.
Oh man. So he's like, you ever watch Martin?
Yeah.
Brumman. Kramer is
Brumman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was thinking about this last night. I was like, wait, hold on a second.
Oh,
right? Okay, I'll give you. Okay, so we got Tay Diggs, right? He is the whitest black guy you could think of. I'll give you mine. Mine is going to be Tiger Woods.
That's a better option. Tiger Woods is definitely a better option.
Tiger Woods.
Tiger got it for sure.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'll take that one.
That's funny.
Okay, and the last one, right? Here's the last one. Plant-based diet or vegan.
Isn't that the same thing?
I'm trying to figure that out, so I'm asking you, man.
Because vegan is all plant-based, you know?
Is
You
it?
can't have eggs and stuff
I don't.
Yeah, it's all plant-based. It's being a vegan. I would, if I'm wrong, then
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you, because I've heard.
wrong, but I would assume so.
I've heard the opposite. So I have. Okay, so like a guy that I know that I work out with every now and then, he's like, plant-based supplements are the best supplements, right? For whatever reason. But at the same time, within the same breath, he's talking about eating a steak. So it's like, dude, you got to make up your mind.
Oh, okay. So he prefers plant-based supplements, but he isn't a vegan.
He's not a vegan. The guy.
I can't take a vegan to Ruth's Chris.
You see what I'm saying? Right.
You know.
So help me out here.
I don't think they have tofu T-bones yet. Unless they do, I don't know. No disrespect to any vegans out there.
Well, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. Right?
I'm ignorant to it, but hey, it's each his own.
Yeah. Okay. What's your healthy options? What are you eating? You look like you do some working out.
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to working out.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, on my day-to-day, I eat the same breakfast, which is usually eggs and oatmeal. For lunch, it's either chicken or fish or beef, depending on how I feel. Okay. But there's always a side, and there's always vegetables. So I try to keep my eating, balanced, if you will.
Right. Okay.
So as long as and so I don't go crazy with fried foods. I'm not big on that. I'm not big on sweets. I'm more of a savory guy. So and if it's a vegan meal, I'm gonna eat that too. So I'm gonna eat that too.
Right.
But definitely want to stay consistent with your exercise.
Yeah. Yeah.
It definitely helps with mental focus. Especially if you're depressed. That's another one. Exercise will definitely help you out.
Yeah.
Definitely help you out. It's a must after all.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And finally, Mike, what is your bottom line, right? What is that reoccurring truth for you that in spite of any setback, that you use this truth as rocket fuel to propel you upwards? What is your bottom line?
What do you mean exactly? Just like, how, what I want, or
what you think about to get yourself out of any setback? What's your truth that you continue to go to no matter what? During the pandemic, during a Wednesday, during a bad deal?
Every single day, there are two things I think about. Where I'm going and where I was.
Okay.
I realize I'm in the gray area in between, and if I stop, I'm going back to where I was. If I continue, I'm going to get further to where I want to be. So that's the main thing that gets me going.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Period.
Yeah. So keep pushing forward, it sounds like, right?
You don't have a choice. Hence, you see my Instagram, I can because I must. It's not just the name of my Instagram. It's actually my it's my go-to.
Yeah. It's your anchor.
I don't have a choice. That's it. It's either you sink or swim.
Yeah, that's your anchor. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. All right. Where do people find you, Mike?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at I can because I must. It's spelled out in full. Okay. You can also find me on Facebook by looking up my name, Michael Seward.
Seward.
Reach me. Seward, like David, yes. So definitely follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. If anyone has any questions on real estate, you could definitely pick my brain at any point.
Yep.
So, I welcome it.
Nice. Definitely, man. Mike, it was a lot of fun. Definitely enjoyed learning from you. Yeah.
This was a blast. Absolute highlight of my week.
Oh, good, man. I'm glad to hear it, bro. I'm glad to hear it. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
For sure. Anytime, man. Anytime. Hope we can do it again sometime, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say, because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line.